He wasn't just a dictator, he was a man playing gods and monsters. He ruled with fear, but his end shocked the world. What they never taught you is how it all really ended. The untold fall of Mussolini, like you've never seen before, will leave you speechless. Shadow of ancient Rome, where emperors once ruled with iron will, another man rose from the dust, not in a chariot, but on the back of chaos and broken promises. His name was Benito Mussolini, and like the emperors before him, he dreamt of an empire. But what he created was a nightmare. He was born in 1883 in a small Italian village most maps forgot, the son of a blacksmith with fire in his veins and a schoolteacher who dreamed of discipline. Mussolini grew up wielding both rage and reason. By 12, he'd already stabbed a classmate. By 16, he was expelled. And by 30, he was preaching revolution. His weapon wasn't a sword, it was the pen. As editor of the socialist newspaper Avanti, he ignited minds, calling for the downfall of kings and the rise of workers. But when the Great War shattered Europe, it shattered him too. The trenches of World War I changed Mussolini forever. He came back broken, not physically, but ideologically. The red flag of socialism no longer satisfied him. Now he wanted power, real power. Better to live one day as a lion, he declared, than 100 years as a sheep. Italy, crippled by war and betrayed at Versailles, was ripe for someone to seize the moment. And Mussolini, bitter, brilliant, and unafraid, did just that. He formed the Black Shirts, a gang of ex-soldiers, thugs, and fanatics who didn't debate. They beat, burned, and silenced. In 1922, Mussolini marched on Rome with 30,000 men. It wasn't a battle, it was a bluff. But the king, weak, afraid, handed him the keys to the kingdom. At just 39, Mussolini became the youngest prime minister in Italian history. The democracy died slowly, then all at once. Parliament became a puppet show. The opposition disappeared, some into exile, others into graves. Mussolini rebranded himself, Il Duce, the leader. He demanded loyalty, forged propaganda, and sculpted a new image of Italy, not as a struggling post-war state, but as a reborn empire. The trains ran on time, highways carved through mountains, marshes were drained, and statues of Roman glory rose again, taller and colder than ever before. To the world, he looked like a genius, the man who had solved the chaos of modern democracy. But behind the salutes and pageantry lay the rotting stench of fear. The secret police tapped every phone. Children chanted Mussolini's name in schools. Books vanished. Dissenters vanished faster. Then came the man who would shape Mussolini's fate, Adolf Hitler. At first, Mussolini mocked him, dismissing him as a fanatic. But as Hitler rose, Mussolini began to envy, and then to follow. They formed the Axis, bound by hatred of democracy and hunger for power. Mussolini sought his own conquest, invading Ethiopia in 1935, using bombs and poison gas against villagers on horseback. The world condemned him. He wore that condemnation like a crown. But World War II was not the war Mussolini had dreamed of. Italy stumbled, bled, and lost. His armies collapsed. His people starved. The glory he promised turned to ash. In 1943, even his own council betrayed him. He was arrested, not by rebels, but by his own men. And yet, the story wasn't over. Hitler sent commandos to rescue him, spiriting him away in a daring mountaintop raid. But Mussolini wasn't restored. He was reduced to a puppet placed in charge of a Nazi-controlled strip of northern Italy called the Republic of Salo. His speeches grew quieter. His face grew hollow. The people no longer listened. They hated him now. By April 1945, with the Allies closing in, Mussolini tried to flee. Dressed as a German soldier, he climbed into a convoy with his mistress, Clara Petacci. But he was recognized, captured by partisans, and without trial, without ceremony, he was shot in a rural village. Just like that, the man who once ruled with statues and steel was dead. His body was brought to Milan, hung upside down in the town square, Clara's body next to his. The crowd gathered, not in mourning, but in rage. They spat, they cursed, they threw stones. The Roman dream was over. Benito Mussolini died a tyrant, not with glory but with humiliation. And yet, his story lives on, not as legend, but as a warning. Because power, once born of fear, always ends in destruction. And history, though slow to speak, never forgets. It remembers.